Alright, so this will be my first gear review ever. I've never really done many because plenty of people do plenty of gear reviews on most of the stuff I buy, so I kind of take their word for it, try it, and it usually works out, so I feel I don't need to add to that. But when I was looking at some tents, I didn't see these two any gear reviews on the market. So this is the River Country Products Trekker 4, and then that is the Big Agnes Gold Camp UL5. Both of these are obviously bigger tents. They're freestanding, non-freestanding tents, so you have to stake them. And they're both actually about 5 pounds. Both are still poly tents, so they don't sag as much. And yeah. So first, I'm going to explain a bit my interest in tents. So my first tent was this guy. It's an Ozark Trails 3-person dome tent. You know, pretty heavy. I think it was like 6 pounds. 3-person. Pretty tight with 3 people. My size not so bad, but like my taller friends, a little more difficult. As I progressed and did more hiking, backpacking, I got a Lanshan 2 for myself and maybe someone else, but you know, it's like sub 3 pounds. Trekking pole, non-freestanding tent, and then I now have a 6 Moon Designs Lunar Solo that I just bought. I'm looking forward to trying that out. And now I'm looking at one of these two to replace what I'll call my community tent. When my friends want to come with, to have more room, space. The other thing is some of my friends, they're taller than me. I'm 5'7", they're like 6 foot. So I want something that they'll be more comfortable in than the Ozark Trails tent. I will say it worked great. I had to seam seal it, all that stuff. But worked great for 8 years or whatever, but now it's time to upgrade. Now, a couple of things to think about when you're thinking about a tent. This River Country Products is a single wall tent. The Gold Camp is a double wall tent. So that's something to consider and I'm thinking about. But the other thing is these are both, like I said, non-freestanding tents. Now me, I'm fine with non-freestanding. The thing is you got to make sure you have ground or rocks or something where you can pitch the corners. But I'm also someone who wants a vestibule, an area where you can put your shoes when you get done. So in order to have a vestibule, you usually have to have soft ground anyway. So that's my argument for going with a non-freestanding. They're usually lighter, and no matter what, you usually got to stake it down at some point. And just non-freestandings are generally lighter. That's kind of my thought process. You know, I could get a like a Big Agnes Copper Spur HV or whatever, but the weight ends up coming similar, and I have more room. So with this River Country Products Trekker 4, this tent comes in at about $80, but then you want to buy the trekking poles with it is what I'd recommend, because it works as the pole. And it all comes out to about $100. The tent itself is a 4-person tent, sill poly, so it shouldn't sag as much when wet. And like I said, it's got a big vestibule area. So the nice thing about this tent when I went to go set it up was, you know, it's just literally pitch 4 corners. I'm not as big a fan on the stakes, but you just pitch the 4 corners and then set it up. You should guy it out to get more room. I haven't done that, but not a big deal. But the dimensions, 7 foot long by 9 foot. So you should, as I'm going to show you, fit. There's also a big ventilation here in the back to help with condensation, and I'll cover that in a second. But like I said, nice thing was it was windier when I set this up. It was fairly easy to set up. And like I said, this tent's like sub 5 pounds, pretty good for especially a 4-person tent, but even 2 people. When you think about that weight, that's not bad, especially when you compare it to other tents out on the market. So here we go, we're going in, and of course I'm sitting on the door. So one thing that concerns me is the quality of the zippers and stuff, but we'll see. The cool thing about this is there is this vestibule area, like where you could definitely put 4 people's shoes, and then nice big door. Hopefully I can get that on there, that you can, again, get in and get out pretty easy. And then, kind of like I alluded to, the trekking pole here works to pitch the tent. It automatically, the tent comes with this connector, and then you pull the 2 trekking poles out of their piece to stand it up. I'm 5'7", and let's see if I can stand up. Yeah, I mean, I can stand up, so that's pretty tight. Anyway, I can at least sit up fine. So they say you could do 4 people lengthwise, and I would have to agree. I've got my feet down here at the door. It's not zipped closed, but pretty close. And then it looks, oops, sorry. Then it looks close here, but again, I don't have it pitched, so if you actually pitch it, you can see I've probably got a foot of rim. So pretty good, some little pockets. Something I did find was some of the corners here got some little holes going on. Something I am concerned about, and I would have to seam seal, but like I said, for $100, can't complain, and I think it'll vent really well too because of this big door, and then also this ventilation area. Something, you know, condensation is obviously a concern. So on the side walls here, I could see that being an issue because it doesn't have a way to escape. But hopefully the big doors help with that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to consider or talk about with this tent? Like I said, overall, I'm fine with the quality of it for $100, whatever. I might change the stakes out. But again, a good lightweight community tent is what I'll say. And I think even in the rain, it would vent pretty decently. Something to think about, because I'm from the Midwest, I'm from Indiana, and our summers get warm and they stay warm at night. And so it gets muggy. But overall, pretty good for $100. The nice thing too is if you don't have that tent pole, you can pitch it, like hang it. I'm trying to think, anything else? If I do, I'll come back to it. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about the Big Agnes Gold Camp UL5. So this is also a sill poly tent, weighs about 5 pounds, a little over. Its dimensions are almost 10 foot by 10 foot. The Trucker 4 here is 10 foot by 10 foot. The other thing is I try to make sure that both tents were under 10 foot by 10 foot, because some campgrounds you go to, that's your pad that you have to sleep in. The other thing I forgot to mention about the Trucker 4 is that the bag that it came in, it was definitely, it was like less than this. It was a lot less. It was probably 3/4 of this. It was a smaller pouch, whereas the Gold Camp, because it's 2-piece, it's multiple bags. I'll come back to that. Alright, now on to the Gold Camp. So this Gold Camp is a double wall tent. When setting it up in the wind, it was not as easy, it was not as fun. It's got these guy outs that are all string, and you tension them. I'm not a big fan of these strings personally. I do like these stakes, that they're a thinner profile, just nicer and to use. This has more, I think, interior area, but in a smaller vestibule because of that, as I'm going to show. It also has these big vents at the top there, so those work pretty well, I would guess. Another thing I realized was this has a 2-way zipper, so you can zip like this open like so. So that's pretty cool. But let's go inside here. So here's the vestibule area. It's definitely smaller. And then I'll go inside. I'll zip this closed as much as I can. So this Big Agnes is a double wall. You can run this with one wall or the other. You can run it in just mesh, you can run it in just tarp, or you can run it with both, like I've got here. Altogether its weight's like just over 5 pounds. And then it uses this aluminum pole to stake it up, and it's got these little click points, so something to consider. Part of the reason for me was thinking about getting this tent was I was hoping it would vent better, especially for Indiana summers, which I'm sure it will, because I can open the 2 doors. There's a second door here that becomes an awning. So I'm hoping that would work. But the other thing with condensation, just thinking about that, comparing it to the other one, I would like to think that this would condensate less, but because on some of these the wall is very near to the mesh, that even when you get up you'll still get wet. I've had that problem with my Landsham too. So that's something I'm thinking about. This tent, if I didn't mention it, is normally like $550, and I got it on sale 40% off from Big Agnes, so it's like $350, and so that's why I wanted to try both. But I think I'm less and less interested in this, just because, like, I think about, okay, even if condensation's I have this net, but if it's touching the net, then I get my face up, I'm gonna get wet anyway. Now there is more length because of the way this floor is, so you can kind of see there's my feet, here's my head, this is a door, They say 5 people can sleep in this. I don't see it. I could see, you know, doing 1, 2 next to me. Then because of this headroom, you could supposedly get someone 3 there. You might be able to get someone angled here, but it's a tricky situation because of the floor layout, I think. I like that it has the awning, but overall, yeah, it's the more I'm in here, the more I'm wondering. Like I said, I just got these tents, just set them up, and I've been in them for a minute. But again, I think about this too. I know it's supposed to be quality brand. It's all seam sealed. I don't see any holes in this. But again, these are just my opinions, my thoughts. Definitely both are, I think, good tents. I like them both. It's just thinking about what am I going to use it for? What do I want it for? What's it going to serve? How often am I going to use it? Is it worth, especially with the big Agnes, is it worth spending the extra money? All that good stuff. But yeah, this kind of the tour of both these tents, because like I said, I didn't see much on the internet about it, so I figure I would make one. I don't want to make any that someone else has already done. And hope this helps if you're looking at either of these tents. And like I said, happy to answer any questions. I don't know if I'll do any other gear reviews, but figured I'd at least do this one. And yeah, until next time.